Hi, this is my first From journal for the spring term. Um, so unfortunately last week I wasn't here, but prior to, we were learning about irrational and rational authority and Fromm's definition of love. This week we're reading about the existential and the historical dichotomies in man. So let's see. Well, first of all, this course has affected me, in the sense that it's, as silly as it sounds, it's really just made me think a little bit more about things. For example, well, if anything, it's given me good things to think about and reflect on, like the idea of rational and irrational authority, and the idea of rational authority being that of the whoever, if you're an authority and you're telling someone to abide by a certain conduct or set of ethics, that you're expected to follow those yourself, as opposed to you giving these ethics or these rules to society and not following them. And yeah, it's the idea of believing in the standards that you give, and that's the difference between a dictatorship and a democracy. So yeah, that was definitely a good thought. And yeah, this week we're learning about the dichotomies, as I said. And see the first sentence. Self-awareness, reason, and imagination have disrupted the harmony which characterizes animal existence. And earlier on, we learned we had a discussion about the idea of man becoming slave to the machine being society, culture that we're being brought up in, the machine being technology for one, especially past 20-30 years. Technology has been ever growing, exponentially, and every day there's something new out there, some new technology, and things are just getting, the technology is it's very convenient, for sure, but it seems as though many people are taking advantage of it, spending 2-3 hours a day on Facebook. I don't spend that much time on Facebook, but I do spend more time than I should. See, with like smartphones, technology is just one example of the idea of human nature. Kind of you create something, you create this machine, expecting to have good results, and not seeing any real risks with implementing it. But when it comes down to it, human nature is that of to fulfill our desires, and if we find something that we enjoy, then we're gonna take it to the next level, and eventually we're gonna have these little devices running our lives, for example. That's the idea of becoming slave to the machine, or even the idea of government. For example, and the idea of a free market and economics, like where no government intervention. That's some argued, like we're learning about it in macroeconomics. I don't remember some of the guys, but they argued that, I think it was Adam Smith, I don't know, but they argued that the economy should work without government intervention, because you think of it, like the idea of a government is to regulate things, and to make things easier for society, but sometimes we rely too much on government or give the government too much power, and as a result, things like the economy start failing because the government has too much power and handles the power wrong. Um, I mean, this is just an example of being a slave to the machine. Um, let's see. Yeah. So there's the idea of being a slave to the machine, which is just what naturally occurs in humans. Um, and there's this idea. Um, he is part of nature, subject to her physical laws and unable to change them. Yet he transcends the rest of nature. He is set apart while being apart. He is homeless, yet chained to the home he shares with all creatures. So this idea of natural dichotomies in man, it's like opposing forces. You know, the first dichotomy it says is the most obvious one, the difference between life and death. You need one for the other, um, you know, and death usually has negative connotations. But it's interesting because Fromm goes and talks about how the implications of death are that of negative, and man has tried to negate this dichotomy, death, by ideologies. For example, the Christian concept of immortality, which by postulating an immortal soul denies the tragic fact that man's life ends with death. So yeah, the idea that man is creating something to comfort the idea of death is goes to show the idea of our discomfort with this particular dichotomy, and other ones as well. The idea of the dichotomy is that man is displeased because there's two opposites working against each other. So yeah, I'm still, some of these readings take a while to dissect, and definitely working through this. But yeah, very interesting stuff to think about, and yeah, it's going good so far.